Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Nancy Pelosi's gazpacho police.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's Monday, brand new week of horrible news. So, as usual, we're going to get into it. We got a lot of stories that I want to cover. Fun stuff, as always. We have, of course, sad MAGA rioters. That's always fun to get back to. Donald Trump's mental health. How things have not changed in a couple of years, that's for sure. We have Marjorie Greene's interesting positions on adoption. Ted Cruz showing that the Republicans are coming after LGBTQ rights. We got Republicans filing false police reports and actually getting busted. What is going on here? So we got all sorts of different fun stories as usual. So everybody strap in. We're going to have fun. All right. That said, before we dive into it, please like and share the stream. Very important. And I also want to give a birthday shout out to Humanist Report host Mike Figueredo. Happy birthday, buddy. Again, big friend of the show. Real nice guy. And so a wonderful happy birthday to him. All right. Hopefully he's doing something better than, having to talk about this stuff. All right. Anyway, let's dive in. Because, again, the news is, of course, horrible, as always. All right. But you know what? Who better to cover it than me? Because I can always make fun out of crap. So... I know it's, you know what? It is a very, what can I say? It's a skill. That's what it is. It's a skill.
It's like a shark, NATO, except with poop.
It's true. It's true. All right. Anyway, let's get to the poop NATO. Let's see. Sweet, sweet MAGA tears. Two MAGA rioters got a little emotional following the handing down of a 3-year sentence for their actions on January 6th. On Friday, Cody Matisse, and James Malt, again, 29 and 30-year-olds respectively. These are New York men. They wept. They wept as they were sentenced to a 44-month prison sentence before Chief U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell. Fun. The pair first begged for leniency, apologizing and saying, guys, we were wrong. We're so sorry. We didn't mean it. We didn't mean it. So now their actions included pulling down barricades, body surfing. After they originally had been pepper sprayed, they went back, they cleaned up, and guess what? They went right back into the fray afterwards. And once they got there, decided to unleash their own chemical agents against police officers in the tunnel. Now, here's what Matisse said through tears, quote, "I was very stupid and ignorant, and I lost myself that day, and I'm extremely embarrassed." Aw, sad baby. Here's what Malt said. "My friends and I went to the Capitol on January 6th with the best of intentions." Oh, really? "What happened was our protest got terribly out of hand. I fell into the mob mentality, and I didn't think about what I was doing." Sad. So, of course, there's the tears. Tears now, but on January 6th and the days afterwards, pride. Let me give an example. Text messages obtained by the FBI showed that Matisse and Malt planned for the violence on January 6th, initially expecting resistance from Antifa, of course, who weren't there, interestingly enough, because why would they be? It wouldn't make any sense for Antifa to show up when it's supposedly their guy that won. Why wouldn't Antifa then go and protest in favor? It doesn't make any sense, but logic is not required. It just isn't. They also texted family members during the mayhem and then congratulated each other in the days after the riot. During that, Matisse texted his fiance to say, quote, "Me and James literally just got everyone to push. I fought off like 4 or 5 cops, and we stand victorious." According to court records, his fiance, Ashley Choate, replied, and I love this, "Oh my God, babe, glad you're having fun and are okay." He's having fun. He's having fun, rioting. But my favorite thing here is this statement. This comes from Matisse's lawyer, who said that he was, again, you want to talk about throwing your own client under the bus? In a way, in order to try to save him. He said that Matisse was uneducated and unsophisticated, adding that he is often swept up on what happens on the internet. So basically, he's a gullible dumbass who allowed himself to fall for 9,700 different falsehoods, or maybe 30,000 of Donald Trump's lies, especially the big lie, the biggest one of all, that Donald Trump's a genius. Oh, okay, maybe the second biggest one of all, that the election was stolen, again, with no evidence, no proof. And in fact, there's plenty of proof to prove otherwise that it had been a fair election. But hey, you know what? Doesn't matter, because he's a gullible dumbass and he believed Donald Trump. Hey, it turns out being stupid is not a defense. Being ignorant is not a defense. Being a moron who believes in everything that he sees on the internet, no matter how unhinged it is, that's not a defense. And by the way, the same person, the person goes on the internet, right? And there's, of course, facts. There's there's falsehoods, there's misinformation, but there's also facts on the internet too. This guy, it disregarded all the facts and said, no, that's fake news. That's what it is. I don't believe in that at all. Oh, are you telling me that every single, even Republican elected officials, Republican judges that were put into place by even Donald Trump, who rejected these court, these court challenges because there was lack of evidence, they're the ones who were wrong. And in fact, they're the rhinos, pumpkins in name only, and they're somehow deep state there to stop Donald Trump. And I only believe Trump. No, that's stupid. That does not warrant you getting a lighter sentence for doing crime. Being stupid doesn't stop you, or I should say, shouldn't prevent you from getting what you deserve after you've done crime. No, the guy believed what he wanted to believe, that he's the good guy, he's the real patriot, and ended up falling for a narcissistic, bloated orange turd. And you know what? Again, that's his fault. Take some personal responsibility, dude, instead of crying like a baby for having to face the consequences of your actions. 44 months in prison. Now, look, I'm not saying that there isn't fault in right-wing media that have been pushing this lie, members of Congress who also push the lie, the aforementioned orange turd. But let me just say that there is always disinformation and always will be disinformation on the internet. Not being exposed to reality is still no cover for doing crime. No excuse. And thankfully, you had a judge that ruled in a way that sends a message that your ignorance of the law or your whatever mob mentality, whatever excuse that you want to use defending the muffins is not going to fly. In fact, she said, quote, "They were not patriots on January 6th, and no one who broke the police lines and stopped the democratic process was a patriot that day." 100%, it's true. Whether you like it or not, that's a fact. All right. Let's move on. We got more law and crime. We got Republicans criming. It appears that Tina Peters is on the run. Tina Peters, of course, is the MAGA-obsessed, conspiratorial Colorado County clerk who has been indicted on 10 charges that are criminal, decided that she was going to run to Vegas. Because, you know, that's what smart people do, right? Now, unfortunately for her, what goes to Vegas doesn't always stay in Vegas. The Colorado Sun reported on Thursday that a judge issued a warrant for Peters' arrest after she traveled outside of her home state without notifying the court, thereby violating the terms of her bond. Peters, of course, is known for her alleged attempts to break into the voting machines in Mesa County, Colorado, after the 2020 election. Now, I love her excuse for it, but first, here's what she did. She is accused of turning off security cameras, granting unauthorized person access to voting machines, and then leaking voting data to fellow conspiracy theorists, thereby committing fraud, ironically. But wait, it gets better. Her excuse, she says she did it. She said she committed the fraud in order to prove that there was fraud. Hey guys, I committed the fraud in order to prove the fraud. Hey, oh my God, why are you arresting me? In fact, she was arrested. The Colorado court had indicted her on 10 criminal counts, 7 of which are felonies. This happened back in March. And yet she decided that the way for her to get out of that was to run for Secretary of State, to run for political office. Now, she lost, but not if you ask her. Oh, no. Apparently, she claims that her loss was illegitimate, because of course she did. I mean, it's only natural for her to do that, for her to say stuff like that. She doesn't believe the 2020 election was legitimate. She doesn't believe her own election was legitimate. Weird how she only, and such as her, so all of these different people, they only challenge these elections when they lose. But when they win, golly gee, no, there's no problem. No voter fraud. Interesting. Now, while running for Secretary of State, the courts did allow her to travel outside of Colorado without permission. Her lawyer argued that it was necessary for her campaign. Well, I mean, how else are you going to go into these fundraisers and beg donors for money out of state? Of course. But now that her election is over, she no longer had that privilege. On Monday, the Mesa County District Attorney filed a motion to require that she get permission for out-of-state travel. Anyone on bond, of course, is not allowed to travel out of state without first informing the court and asking for permission. But This is the great Tina Peters. Are you saying that she needs permission like a regular person? Like a criminal? She's not. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a criminal. No, what are you talking about? I'm exposing the fraud in the election. You can't dare keep me inside the state. No, I don't have to follow your stupid rules. No, apparently she does. Mesa County District Court Judge Matthew David Barrett agreed and prohibited Peters from traveling without prior permission. But here's why I love this story so much. This is somebody who thinks rules and laws do not apply to her. It's a great example of unearned privilege. I mean, she's out there saying, why should laws don't apply to me? Rules don't apply to me. Court judgments don't apply to me. None of this applies to me because you know what? I'm Tina Peters and I'm right. No, you're not. No, you're a fraud. You're a conspiracy theorist and you believe in insane things. And you're actually on the wrong side of the law. No, the day after, though, that she was barred from travel, Peters went to a convention in Vegas for, get this, the right-wing Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. So this person who knowingly broke the law to go to Vegas just went to a place full of cops. Hey, everybody, I'm breaking the law by being here because I'm speaking to a bunch of cops. I mean, the caucasity here. Holy shit. Look, in her mind, she must have believed that, hey, I'll get away with it because these are right-wing cops. These guys are with me. And she actually, unfortunately, would make a good point. That said, she also believes that laws don't matter when in regards with her. And look, she seems to prove it over and over again by disregarding the laws. Understand that this is the kind of people that we're dealing with here. They don't care about the law. They don't care about due process. They don't care about justice. All they care about is advancing themselves. Okay. Moving on. Let's get to more people that don't care about the law. Mary Trump, Donald Trump's niece, last week said that she believes that Donald Trump's mental health is deteriorating. Well, that's kind of interesting because it looks like his brain's been rotting nonstop since 2016 and even beforehand. But okay, anyway, let's go to her statements to the Daily Beast. She said that Trump is, quote, addicted to being at the center of attention, and for him to feel the focus is shifting away from him, or that he's losing his power will make things even worse because he won't confront that and process it and deal with it, and therefore worsen his situation. More than ever, his temper, the out-of-control narcissism must be just unspeakably difficult for the people around him to deal with. Not that I have any compassion for any of them at this point, but yeah, it's only going to get worse from here. As for the people who are still around him, she says that basically that they're enablers. The silence, the enabling, they're continuing to admire him is so egregious and almost incomprehensible. So now, here's the thing. There are two types of people that hang around Donald Trump. The true believers and the people who have hitched themselves to him because they still believe there's some sort of gain to be gained from being around him. So now the pool of the people who might have something to gain, whether it be financial or political, electoral, those people are shrinking, but there's still a decent amount of them. That said, the other people, the true believers, are basically the cult priests. They'll go down with him, likely, of course, way before Trump himself does. And he will sacrifice those people on the altar of Trump. It's just true. Now, the others, the hangers-on, understand that they'll do anything that they can to avoid going down. And a great example of that is Steve Bannon. Now, Steve Bannon, he's on trial, okay, for contempt of court. And so Bannon might be fucked. And look, he knows it. Him and people like him, their only hope is for Trump to regain power, to somehow get back into power and use that power to help them out. Now, Trump, again, there's precedent for this because he already pardoned Steve Bannon for literally stealing from his supporters. Remember the We Build the Wall project, which was a giant scam, a giant grift, where he took all this money from Trump's fans, said he was going to build a wall with it, and then stuffed it right into his pocket. He was busted on a yacht. So if that happens, I mean, since that had already happened, that he had pardoned Bannon, well, then why, from Bannon's point of view, why wouldn't he get another pardon himself? Why not? If Donald Trump assumes power again, and let's be honest, if he does, it's because he was able to destroy democracy and end rule of law. That's it. If there's no rule of law, no democracy left, then why wouldn't he use that power to help Steve Bannon and the others? The ones who stayed loyal, because again, loyalty is all that matters to Donald Trump. But getting to the point about Trump and his mental health, I'm going to be honest, I am no expert. But as I said, it just looks like his brain's melting. To me, I don't think he's ever really had a good grasp on reality to begin with. And look, you could go on and try to be like, okay, well, look, he knows, but he's just a narcissistic, pathological liar. But I tend to believe that he lies so much that he doesn't even know it's true anymore. Like, he has convinced himself that lies are the truth. And that itself seems kind of mental. And add to it, of course, that he's a narcissist, that he doesn't believe that anything is his fault, but always 100% should be credited for anything good that happens. In a way, it's kind of like a main character syndrome. He thinks he's the main character in everything. Everything good happens because of him, and everything bad happens because of people who tried to stop him or tried to harm him. But look, on the point, though, that can it get worse? Of course it can get worse. I don't see how it can get worse, but it can get worse. Always expect it to get worse. But thankfully, at the moment, he does not have any real power, any political power. He does have, well, I should say he doesn't have power to make policy. He does have some political power in the Republican Party. And we'll see how much is left if he decides to run again in 2024. That said, at least he doesn't have the nuclear football. Thank goodness for that. But on that, Mary Trump also spoke to Tom Hartman about it. Here's what she said about the people around him. Quote, "No one would be safe from his wrath. From close confidants to the lowliest of White House aides. I think he's going to turn on everybody. I think he's, as we've seen, his circle is getting smaller and smaller by the controversy," meaning, of course, January 6th. And by the way, I'm going to point out that the January 6th Commission has actually done a wonderful job in presenting the evidence. So much so that I think it's even turned some Republicans as well. Now, he's never going to turn the cultists, the cult members. But there are people that are finally getting information and saying, oh, wait, this is actually really bad. Turns out he did try to destroy democracy, and I'm not in favor of it. So, but she also added, I think there would just be very few people left standing, and certainly I could see that happening. Now, if that is the case, then yeah, it's going to hurt him more than anything else. But as long as he still has the majority of the cult around him who buy into his distorted reality, well, he's still going to be a danger to this country. Mary added later that we should expect a full court press by him and everybody in his orbit to change the subject, to muddy the waters, deflect, project, cast blame on everybody, from the loneliest White House aides on on up. And that's, of course, is if Trump gets indicted. He will not take it lying down, and he will engage everybody who continues to be a hanger-on to do his bidding. I mean, Donald Trump didn't do this by himself. He was enabled at every turn from people in his inner circle, everybody in the executive branch, and almost the entirety of the Republican Party. And again, I think those people, the followers, the hangers-on, the people that still have power. Remember, we have elected officials in Congress who did not vote to certify the election that are still in power. We have people that are still openly pro-Trump that have not only run for office, but are still in office to this day. That's problematic. And so, yes, those are the people who are capable of doing some pretty bad things. Again, to go back to the cultists, those are also people who are capable of violence, political violence. And so that's another huge problem. If anything, I mean, honestly, or I should say, obviously, keeping him out of power, keeping Trump from getting the nomination and becoming the next president, it should be the first priority. But we also need to make sure that we defeat his supporters in government. We need to focus on that as well, because those people are also a huge danger. Okay. Moving on. Let's go to the next here. Let's change the subject and we'll head out to Marjorie Greene.
So let's talk about children. Children are in the greatest danger in America today because traditional family values are being destroyed. Mm-hmm. The idea that mom and dad together, not fake mom and fake dad, but biological mom and biological dad, can raise their children together and do what's right for their children, raising them to be confident in who they are, their identity. Their identity is they're a child, made.
Okay, that was Republican Representative Marjorie Greene coming out against what? Adoption? Really? That's a very, very strange position to take, considering how the Republican Party, one of the justifications of forced births, which again, there's no justification for, is saying, well, that, you know what? Yes, you should be forced to carry a baby to term, but if you can't take care of it, then, well, at least you could put it up for adoption. Okay, well, and then she comes out and says, well, fake parents, right? Fake mom and fake dad. Basically saying that adoptive parents aren't real parents. That's ridiculous. That's completely false. Adoptive parents are not fake parents. Being a parent is far more than just being genetically related to that child. Being a parent actually involves a lot of investment, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of resources, both physical and mental. Again, being just a sperm donor or someone who carried that child does not make you a good parent. It makes you a donor, or at best an incubator. And by the way, not everybody is cut out to be a parent and shouldn't be forced to be a parent. But understand that, what Marjorie Taylor Greene believes is that, no, it doesn't matter if you're cut out to be a parent or not, or if you want to be a parent. No. If you're pregnant, you should be forced. You should be forced to birth that child, and you should be forced to, take care of it for the rest of your life. You should just be forced into parenthood. And you know what? That goes down to the punishment mentality that they believe in. That children are a punishment for sexual activity. Hey, even if it's not your fault, even if you've been raped, even if it was incest, doesn't matter. You should still be forced to bear that child and then take care of that child. And as she said, well, biological parents, of course. And we should have we should really oppose the breakdown of the family. And so in the case of a rapist's baby, She apparently believes that you should be forced to co-parent with a rapist. Well then. But, you know, it's because we don't want the fake parents. That's what it is. No, we need the real parent, the biological parents, not the fake ones. Now, understand what this is. It's a logical extension of right-wingers that are not only, again, trying to ban gay people from adoption, right, and to control women. Not only is this forced birth, you have forced parenting, and also looking to prevent same-sex couples or couples who cannot get pregnant naturally from being able to raise children. Why would you want to do that? Again, I mentioned control. She wants to control people. Control people's lives, control people's bodies, keep people in poverty, keep them in toxic relationships where they can't escape because they don't have the resources, the financial resources, or, you know, the ability, again, to get out of those situations because you have those children to take care of. And to prevent women, of course, from being in the workforce by forcing them to carry fetuses to term, and then to raise children that they never wanted. And so finally, because, and I think this is important, I don't think she wants white families to adopt immigrant children. Some families choose to do that instead of have their own. Or have, you know, adopt immigrants in addition to having their own children. I've seen that before too. But see, Marjorie Greene doesn't like that because, oh, that just means more minorities. I don't like that. Ooh. No, we can't have that. We got to have more white babies. Remember, that's the focus of a lot of these extremist right-wingers, these fundamentalists. They want more white babies, not just more babies. They want white babies. And then you might say, well look, I don't understand. You're going to have black families that are going to be having more kids too. Well, right now, white people are a minority. Or, I'm sorry, are a majority. Black people are a minority, right? And so if you up the white birth rate, it's going to offset the increase in the black birth rate. And then add to the system where we have huge disparities when it comes to infant mortality among black families and complications in pregnancy. And of course, deaths of not only infants, but of course, mothers from these birth complications among the black community. The huge disparity of care between black and white families. You're going to end up with a lot more dead black children versus white children. And so it's a guarantee to keep white people in the majority. So yes, this is racism. That's always a part of it, of course, when you look at the far right. This is how they think. Now, she also even said that women are basically nothing more than weak rib people. Remember when she said, "We came from Adam's rib. God created us with his hands. We may be the weaker sex. We are the weaker sex, but we are our partners, our husband's wife." Hey, she said it. She thinks that you're a weak possession for your husband. And she also thinks that she is a weak possession of her husband, made of a rib. And that making and raising children, by extension, is all that you're good for. Well, hey, look, if that's all you're good for, get out of Congress. Stop making laws for people. Go raise some children and make your husband a sandwich. Those aren't my rules. Those are your rules. Maybe you should live by them before you try to make those rules for other people.
In Obergefell, the court said, no, we know better than you guys do, and now every state must must sanction and permit gay marriage. I think that decision was clearly wrong when it was decided. It was the court overreaching.
Of course, that was Senator Ted Cruz on Saturday saying that he believes that the decision that legalized same-sex marriage across the country was wrong. And that, it should be in the states and it was overreaching. How dare the court overreach and guarantee civil rights for people? No, it should be in the states. You know what other decisions conservatives believe that were wrong? And again, I've got a list for them. Thomas laid it out. But the major one was, of course, slavery. It's what they wanted to leave to the states because they wanted people to be able to own slaves. Now, I happen to believe that civil rights and protection should not be based on the whims of people in individual states. I don't think that we should be made up of 50 different countries with different laws on civil rights. But that's just me, apparently. But I'm not a Republican, and I'm also a decent human being. I know. But look, in this country, you're supposed to be free. Hey, Ted, don't you believe in freedom? Republicans, don't you believe in freedom? The freedom to marry who you want, the freedom to do what you want with your body. I mean, look, during the mask thing, you kept saying my body, my choice. But when it came to, actual bodily autonomy, you don't seem to care at all. Freedom. But I'm for freedom. I'm for freedom. No, you're not. You're for controlling other people. Look, LGBTQIA plus rights are the civil rights of our time, the civil rights of our era. And once again, conservatives are never on the side of more freedom. They're against freedom. And he's not the only one. Again, I mentioned Thomas earlier. Thomas, in his solo concurring opinion in Dobbs, Justice Thomas said that any decision made by the Supreme Court that was stated to be supported by the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment should be reconsidered. Interesting. He said any substantive due process decision was demonstrably erroneous. Yes, in his words, adding that we have a duty to correct the error established by those precedents. Not only is Obergefell on the radar, an error to him, right? But also, he wanted to look at Griswold v. Connecticut, which established the right for married couples to use contraception so they can avoid having children they might not want or cannot afford. Lawrence v. Texas, which prohibits states from banning sexual relations between people of the same sex, as well as, of course, allowing oral sex between not just same-sex couples, but straight couples as well, heterosexual couples, basically making it so that the state can't send in police to stop you from getting a blowy. I mean, imagine running on that. Again, Ted Cruz wanted to make sure that you had no more than 6 sex toys at a time in your house. Well, I thought you guys are for freedom. I mean, what do you care how many sex toys somebody has? How many fake penises somebody has in their drawer? Like, what business of it is yours? Is it? No, they're not for freedom at all. Not for freedom. And by the way, again, Loving Virginia also protects interracial marriage. Now, here's the thing about that. While Thomas did mention Obergefell, Griswold, and Lawrence, he did not mention Loving. Why is that? Why is there such an omission? On Loving? Or I'm sorry, yeah. Well, it's because it would affect him. That's why. Republicans will only do things that don't affect them. We've seen so many different examples of that. If a conservative has a gay family member or is gay themselves, well, then, of course, they're going to, come around to being in favor of their rights. We've seen that before. Not always, of course, but in some cases, yes. There are other more blatant examples, for example, when right-wingers need abortions. And we did this, we've seen this story happen before, where you had right-wingers that were protesting outside of abortion clinics go in, get an abortion, and then go right back on the picket line. And the excuse always is, oh, but I'm an exception. I really needed that abortion. You don't understand. You know, I had to get it. I had to get it. And of course, there's always the Scott Desjardins of the world. My mistress really needed those abortions. What can I do? What can I do? And then later on, they'll come out and say, oh, I got right with Jesus. Oh, did you now? No, this is always about what helps them control other people. They are not the party of freedom. They're the party of control. They're the party of controlling you. The only freedom that they care about is freedom for corporations, freedom for companies to go and price gouge you, and to be free from paying taxes. That's it. That's the only freedom they care about. Themselves and corporations. They're corporate donors. They want to control you. They want to control what kind of sex you have, what you do in your bedroom, by yourself or with your partner, and control your body if you happen to be someone that has a uterus. That's it. Controlling other people and then using these manufactured culture wars to continue to gain power across this country, to gain and keep power. That's what they're about. Okay. Moving right along. Senator Bernie Sanders is apparently tired of Joe Manchin's crap.
Senator Joe Manchin, of course, abruptly pulled the plug this week on the Democrats'
No, Martha,
plans
he didn't
to
abruptly.
pass...
Martha,
okay,
okay.
he abruptly on Friday
He didn't abruptly do anything.
He was
has
negotiating
sabotaged
for a while.
the president's agenda. No. Look, if you check the record 6 months ago, I made it clear that you have people like Manchin, Sinema to a lesser degree, who are intentionally sabotaging the president's agenda, what the American people want, what a majority of us in the Democratic caucus want. Nothing new about this. And the problem was that we continue to talk to Manchin like he was serious. He was not.
All right, so I love the rejection of the framing here by Martha Raddatz. And by the way, that is Joe Manchin's framing as well. Oh, no, of course I was negotiating in good faith. Of course. It's just that, the deal, I'm so worried about, inflation and all of that stuff. No, I love that he disregarded that framing because it's BS. And I don't think this is done enough on the media. Mainstream media always gives the benefit of the doubt to so-called moderates. In reality, he's not a moderate. Joe Manchin is a corporatist. He's a corporate stooge. And Bernie Sanders goes on to lay out why that is the case.
This is a guy who is a major recipient of fossil fuel money, a guy who has received campaign contributions from 25 Republican billionaires. In my humble opinion, Manchin represents the very wealthiest people in this country, not working families in West Virginia or America.
Not just his humble opinion, but that's who Joe Manchin actually does represent. Look, if you want to know what Joe Manchin is going to do, well, I have some advice for you. All you have to do is follow who's paying him. That's it. You look up the donations, and you instantly know what direction he's going to go. And this is what frustrates me about corporate media is to go, but Manchin wants this now, and he reversed course, and he did this and did that, and maybe he wants this, and he says, well, I'm worried about inflation, I'm worried about this. No. You only need to look who's paying him to understand what Joe Manchin's position is going to be. And again, I would apply that standard to about 90% of Congress as well. You only have to look who's paying them to see their priorities. Again, 100% of the time, people like Joe Manchin will do exactly what the donors tell them to. There is one exception, of course, and that's if the will of the donors might conflict with their own personal finances. But understand that almost never happens. I don't think I've ever seen that happen at any time, because usually the donors and the politicians, their own financial interests are aligned. Manchin, again, is the chair of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee and is also the top beneficiary of oil and gas money in Congress this election cycle. He also has personal investments in coal. Manchin had holdings in 2021 valued at between $1 to $5 million in Enersystems alone. That is a coal brokerage business that he had founded, according to recent financial disclosure forms. That same year, he made more than $536,000 from those very same holdings. He also has a stake in another firm run by his son, Farmington Resources Incorporated. Its services include support activity for coal, metal mining, and drilling oil and gas wells. Gee, I wonder why he tanked Biden's climate agenda. Oh, it's a mystery. We have to figure this one out. Politico, get on it. Write an entire piece about how, oh no, he really tanked it because he was worried about inflation. And then he actually does care about the environment. Oh yes. Oh wait, Politico's already run that piece. And it was absolutely ridiculous to read. Brainless. I mean, you would have to have a completely empty head to read that and think, no, you know it? No, he's right. It had to have been inflation. Exactly. 100%. Now, here's the thing, too. Those donations are different than, obviously, personal finances, right? Now, the millions of dollars in donations, many from people who donated to President Trump, like investor Ken Langone and private equity executive Mark Rowan, which, by the way, is not exclusive to Republicans, right? Those donations, a lot of these companies, I should say, donate to both sides, Republicans and Democrats. Speaking of Politico, new campaign finance disclosures, they reported, show that business magnate Bill Gates gave Manchin $2,900, as well as former Virgin Galactic CEO George Whitesides and Morris Goldfarb, whose G3 Apparel Group owns brands like Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein, DKNY, and Karl Lagerfeld. A number of high-powered executives also matched out to Manchin between April and June, including banker Warren Stevens, hotel executive Tom Baltimore, Motorola CEO Greg Brown, Home Depot CEO Edward Decker, Yum Brand CEO David Gibbs, Gillette CEO James Gilt, and Robert Kraft and his son Jonathan. Now, can you think of a reason why they donated? Oh, right. It's because he stopped Build Back Better. Build Back Better would have actually helped you and maybe raise taxes on these corporations just a little bit. But no, they can't handle it. Now, the difference, of course, is that these donations, yes, they go to your campaign. But Manchin's investments in fossil fuels, guess where they go? They go right in his pocket. Which brings me back to the framing and how stupid Washington, D.C. reporters are. Maybe stupid's a harsh word, okay? But I mean, you could be incredibly kind and say that, oh, it's just, Washington groupthink. That's what it is. They're all people that, are just immersed in this narrative, like corporations are great, and that progressive's bad. And that, Joe Manchin is just a straight shooter. And, he just cares about inflation so much in the national debt. That's the real problem. That's what's stopping everything. Now, Manchin, on that inflation issue, what's the Fed doing to stop the inflation that they had caused with them giving trillions of dollars to the banks in liquidity? I think it was something around $6 trillion during the COVID pandemic that they had given the banks in liquidity, which again, the banks then used to buy back their own stocks and increase executive payouts. Now, what is the Federal Reserve doing that? Oh, right. They're going to hike. In fact, they already have hiked interest rates. Now, when you do that, when you hike interest rates, it's actually more expensive for companies to borrow money. A lot of corporations who have loans out already, millions of dollars in loan, guess what? They're going to end up paying more in interest. And when you're paying more in interest to pay off these loans, guess what? That's going to cost them in profits. So Manchin doesn't want them to do rate increases, because what they're doing with the increasing the rate is their whole plan is to cool the economy, which is just another word of saying, well, we're going to make it so that people, that these companies hire less people. We're going to try to lower people's demand. That's going to cause unemployment. That's going to cause real suffering. Okay. That's their plan. And so Manchin is saying, oh, no, okay, let's here's what we're going to do. We don't want the Fed to raise the rate that much, because that's going to cost corporations. I don't care at all about the workers. I don't care about the employment. No. Don't care. I just care about corporations having to pay more on their loans. That's it. No, the real thing that we should do about inflation is we should do austerity. Less spending. We're going to put less money in the economy into your pockets because we think, well, less money to you. That's a good thing. More money for corporations. That's a good thing. And we're going to use inflation as a cover to try to do austerity. They want to be spared the pain of rate increases, having to pay more on their loans. Now, as Elizabeth Warren pointed out, rate increases are going to do nothing to actually lower the cost of food and gas. Again, these people admitted it. The Federal Reserve admitted it. Yeah, they're not going to do anything. It was Jerome Powell. But see, Washington and the reporters, they eat up this narrative. Finally, we're seeing somebody try to put a pin in it. And I want to see more of this. I do want to see more pushback against these narratives, especially from Bernie Sanders, who I've been disappointed in because of how much he has defended his friend Joe Biden. So I hope we're seeing a return to a strong Bernie Sanders who has finally had enough of what's going on. And to see him on the attack again is good to see. Let's see more. All right. Who is that economist who said that millennials are to blame because they're not spending enough? There's always one of them somewhere. But I know exactly the article you're talking about. All right, last story here. A Republican candidate in Maryland was arrested for filing a false police report. Oh, that's interesting. So this story is amazing in a couple of different ways. First, let's go to his name. The name of the candidate is Ryan Dark White. Ryan Dark White. Now, this guy apparently is a conspiracy theorist, probably QAnon related. And what he did is that he had called the police about an adult bookstore, claiming that this bookstore, that there were witnesses saying that the bookstore was forcing a young girl to perform sex acts on an adult. Now, that's a very serious allegation, one that you would need some evidence for. So where's the evidence? Well, it turns out it was made up. Of course. There were no sex acts being performed. The guy just made it up. And better yet, he claimed that he was part of a sting operation in which he had made up a fake name. He claimed that he was undercover posing as Dr. John McGreevy. Now, that claim would be very easy to disprove. All you'd have to do is investigate whether a Dr. John McGreevy actually worked at the bookstore. And it turns out he didn't. The alleged source of information was, again, a made-up 54-year-old employee at the store named Dr. John McGreevy. Again, what would a doctor be doing in an adult bookstore? No idea. As well as, by the way, the same name that he is using to run for Congress is John McGreevy. The guy's name is Ryan Dark White, and yet he's already used a fake name to run for office in the same fake name to claim that he's working at a bookstore. This story's wild. Now, he says that he got the job as part of a law enforcement sting operation on the drug trade into Baltimore City. So wait, he's now part of a law enforcement? I mean, the lies just keep coming. The insane lies. Now, detectives with the Hartford County Child Advocacy Center, they did their due diligence and they investigated this, right? And after conducting interviews and gathering digital evidence, investigators first had identified the adult male and juvenile female mentioned in the initial complaint. However, at no point was any formal report filed by any of the purported witnesses, according to the sheriff's office. In fact, police said that the investigation revealed at no time were any sex acts performed or offered by any of the individuals in the establishment as reported by White. But that's not all. White also claimed that there were between 100 to 200 pounds of drugs in some part of the building. Let me guess, it was in the basement where they were keeping the children that they were drinking the blood of? I don't know. He claimed in a video that they started exploiting children, and there's a child trafficking ring being run through there as well. And yet, none of those things were true. But again, it doesn't have to be true for right-wingers to believe it, because they live in a post-truth world. So wherever, whatever they feel to be true is true for them. That's the reality. A great example here is the fact that, according to a Yahoo YouGov poll from 2020, half of all Trump supporters believe that Democrats were involved in an elite child sex trafficking ring. That's QAnon. Half of Republicans, like, oh no, no, there's a child sex trafficking ring, and they're taking the kids, and they're drinking the blood, and they're doing the sacrifice, all that stuff. That's bonkers. It's insane. And 52% said, oh, Trump's in power because he wants to break them up. Again, not true at all. Ridiculous. But no, you ask them, of course, and no. It's not that it's not true. No. It's the mainstream media. They're not reporting it because they're in on it, because they're liberal. The media is liberal. Really? The media is liberal. Yeah, interesting. Not true at all, but interesting. Now, interestingly enough, too, the police would have to be in on it because, again, they found no evidence of his insane claims. In fact, police arrested him on Friday and transported him to the Hartford County Detention Center, where he awaits. The sheriff, Jeffrey R. Gawler, said this, quote, "It is shameful that a candidate for public office would make up such a story and use it to further his own political agenda." Well, I mean, are we really surprised? Again, we have seen people, all sorts of different people, make up all sorts of insane things. Marjorie Greene talked about Jewish space lasers, starting forest fires, instead of climate change, which is actually causing forest fires and making conditions worse or easier for them to actually start. No, it's Jewish space lasers. That's what it is. Conspiracy theorists, all of them. Insane. And the worst thing about this is that this is probably, among those voters, among their core constituents, it's going to give them a bump. Because unfortunately, insanity has gripped the Republican Party. It's now, to be a conspiracy theorist, to not believe in facts and truth, that's a virtue in the Republican Party. All right. Recognition of reality is called woke. Says emergency remedial truth. I mean, 100%. I mean, for them, woke means anything that they want it to at this point. It has no real meaning. Anything I don't like. All right. Let's go through. I'm going to thank some people for super chats and go to Twitch as well. Let's see. Let's open that up and take this off the screen. All right. Madi Darno says, this community has some of the kindest, most humane people I know. Thank you for all your support and kind words. And Jeff, too. We'd love and appreciate you. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you as well. All of you. So thank you for going around the nation with me today. And all the times that you join me. I really, really appreciate it. Jeff James says Republican Party is the GQP now. Thank you for resubbing and becoming a supporter again for 26 months. The 26th month in a row. Thank you, Jeff James. Appreciate that. Let's go to some more members here. There's another membership message. I thought there was a membership message here. Thought there was. Because I had gotten one earlier, but I don't see it pop up. YouTube is being stupid. So that sucks. Okay. I'll have to give you a shout out tomorrow. As for Twitch, let's go over to Twitch here. Let's see. Occam's Taser, thank you for gifting several subs. I believe it's 2 tier 1 subs. Really appreciate that. Chipperdoodle and PA, thank you for resubbing for a month of tier 1. Appreciate that. 20 months. Awesome. It says, yay. It's Just Vegas. Thank you. Oh, that's 3 days ago. Drip Alert, also thank you for gifting 1 tier 1 community sub. Appreciate that. All right. That's it. That's all I can see. That's all I see. That's all I want to see. No, I'm kidding. Of course. I want to see. I always want to see more. Thank you all again. Really, really appreciate you all. Have a great, great night. We'll see you all tomorrow. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all tomorrow.
I will eat your ass.
We'll do it live.
There's insanity in the control room. Please clap.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.
I have not loved this conversation.
Disappointed.